Hi, my name is Juan Rangel, web developer at VS Ellis. In this video, we will be leveraging third-party code to create our client site. We are going to take a dive into building an object-oriented plugin and using a class and code library to help us along the way. The code we'll be using today is CMVto, which was created by Web Dev Studios and stands for Custom MetaBoxes 2. This code library allows us to easily create custom MetaBoxes that we could attach to our posts and pages without getting into the API ourselves. We will also be using WP Custom PostType class, which is a class created by Joe Granger, and this allows us to easily create custom post types. So in this scenario, our client runs a blog about events in the community. She has asked us to create an easy-to-use editor where she could add her own information and have it formatted nicely on the front end. We are simply collecting some basic information about the event and displaying it on the front end. So before we start coding, let's take a step back and think about what we need. First, we need a post type. We'll call this events. Next, a title and description. We'll use the title and editor for this. And as far as custom post types go, we'll need a location, a date, and time. We'll also add a repeating field for downloads, such as PDFs, maps, menus, and etc. So now that we have all that we need, let's start coding. Okay, so here we are on the terminal, and I am in the plugins directory in my WordPress instance, and I am going to create a directory, and we'll call this Genesis Camp. So we will go ahead and open it up in Sublime. Now we will go ahead and start building out the plugin. So this file will be genesiscamp.php. So we will go ahead and start out with the plugin header. Plugin name will be Genesis Camp Events. Author Rangel. Clear this out. Roll this top PHP. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take an object-oriented approach and require a class that will basically control the plugin, and we'll put this into the inc genesiscamp.php, and we'll go ahead and instantiate it since we're here. Genesis Camp, new Genesis Camp. So let's go ahead and create that. Inside of the inc directory, we're going to create genesiscamp.php. And inside of here, we are going to create our class. Start off with a header. This controls the plugin. And the package will be Genesis Camp. Class Genesis Camp. So in our constructor, we are going to go ahead and load our dependencies. So we are going to create a call to a method. We'll call this load includes. Create the method here. Load includes. So this is where we will load our files that we need. So first we're going to include cpc.php. Next, we will call the CMVto /init. And for now, we'll just load these two files. So we do not have these files inside of our plugin. So let's go to GitHub and grab them. First, we'll grab the custom post type class. If you click source, CPT, we can go ahead and copy the contents here. Okay, And to grab the Web Dev Studios, we'll clone this URL, open up the terminal, we'll cd into Genesis Camp /inc, and we will git clone. So now that we have both CMVto and our PostType class, let's go activate the plugin. Great. So now that it's activated, let's go ahead and start to use these classes. So here, next thing we're going to do, we are going to create our PostType. So we'll basically create a method, register event, create the method call here, so we can create event, and that will be a new CPT, custom PostType class, and we will simply pass it the name of the PostType event. So now we head back over to WordPress, refresh, and now we have the event PostType. Okay, so to give this a little more custom look, I want to change this icon. So in order to do that, we will go ahead and head over to the WordPress dash icons, and here's this calendar icon. Copy the HTML. You can copy the second class. And you will pass menu icon method. Give it a refresh. So now we have calendar icon, which is a lot better. Okay, so another thing that we could do with this class is we could add taxonomies. So if we take a look at the documentation, do a quick look for taxonomy. All we have to do is call the register taxonomy method. So we'll do event register taxonomy, and the taxonomy we will call maybe event types or event type. How about that? There we go. So this is party, holiday, something like that. Cool. Okay, so now that we have our post type, let's go ahead and create a quick event. Number run. Use some zombie ipsum. Go ahead and view the event. So now we have a simple event title and description. So now let's use CMVto to create our custom fields. We'll go back to our Genesis Camp class. So we'll create a method that we'll call our MetaBox class. Alright, so we'll go ahead and include the file. We'll call this event MetaBoxes. And this will just instantiate the class. And let's go ahead and create that class. This class controls the MetaBoxes. And this is going to be Genesis Camp. So let's go ahead and start creating the class. Call it event meta boxes. Okay. Just go ahead and get started with building this class out. So first thing, in our constructor, we will need to add an action. We need to add an action to CMVto init. And since we are in a class, we need to pass this and the method name. Create that method here. And inside of here, we'll go ahead and start building out our MetaBox. So we'll assign an info variable that will hold the box, and we'll pass new CMVto box. We'll pass in an array. So this is how we will control the MetaBox. We'll give the MetaBox an ID. You should prefix your IDs. So we'll go ahead and create a private property. Event information. Next will be a title. So the title of your MetaBox. And this again will be event information. And lastly, object types. Now whatever you pass here, you pass the post type that you want the MetaBox to display on. So if you want it on page, you'll create page. If post, post. But we want it on event. Okay, so let's clean this up just a bit. Okay, so now let's go ahead and save this so we can take a look. Oh, we need to put new so it knows it's a class. Refresh. So now we have a MetaBox. So this MetaBox currently does not have any fields. So let's start adding fields. So here we can get our info instance and add the method add field. Now we'll pass in an array. First thing would be the name, so event date. Next, an ID, and again we would like to prefix these, so and last would be the type, and we could put text here. Go ahead and refresh. So now we have a text box that the user could input, but CMVto gives us a very long list of field types that we could use. So if you click here, you can see that we have a text date and a text time field. So we could go ahead and use these inside of our plugin. Text date. So event time. Time. So now we got a date picker, jQuery date picker, and it has a time picker as well. And if we update, values persist, and let's continue. Next thing we need is a location MetaBox. So here we are simply going to pass in a text area. CMVto does give you an address field if you wanted to create that yourself, but for now we will simply put in a text area. We'll make that a small. Fresh. You might want to update our ID. So now we got event date, event time, and event location. Last thing we need is a downloads repeating field. So this syntax can get a bit tricky. It may take a little bit to actually drill into your brain. So let's try and do this. All right, downloads will equal a new info add field, right? So we'll do that again. Inside of here, we're going to pass an array, just as before. Okay, so we'll add an ID, prefix it, and this is going to be event downloads. Type is going to be a group, and we'll pass in options. array. All right, so here are basically the labels for the MetaBox fields. The group title, will be download. And what this does here, the curly braces with the hashtag, it will increment the number. So however many number of MetaBoxes you have, this will increment. Next, we'll change the add button text, and that will be add another download. And the remove button text, which will be remove download. Okay, and last thing, we want to have the sortable, so we'll set that to true. So that basically just creates the group. So now we have to assign fields to that group. In order to do that, do info, we'll add a group field. So in this group field, first parameter will be the downloads, right? So this will be the group above. Next, we'll simply pass an array just like we were before. Give it a name. We'll do download title. Next, an ID. We'll just do title. We don't need to prefix this, since the parent, which is the group, is like a wrapper. We don't have to prefix what's inside. And lastly, the type. So type will be a text field here. Clean this up. Refresh this. So now we have a title. All right. So let's go ahead and add one more. And that is going to be a file and file. Refresh. So now we could assign a title, so map, and download. So we could say this is a map, we'll use it. Want to add some music. And maybe a menu. Go ahead and update that. So now that we have all of our custom post types in place and they are saving data into the post meta, if we view the front end, nothing will show. So now we will create one last class that will handle the output of all of our post meta. So we'll go back to Genesis Camp. Create one last call. This will be output event info. And this will basically do the same and just instantiate the class event info. So we'll go ahead and create that file here. Call it event info and create the file. Okay, so our last class will be pretty simple, and this is where Genesis comes into play. So we'll create another constructor, and in this constructor we'll add an action, and we'll hook into Genesis entry content. If we were not using Genesis, we would have to actually filter the content, but since we are using Genesis, this makes it easy for us, and we could simply pass in an array, and this will be the method call. We'll do it event do info, right? So create public function event do info. Alright, so first we're gonna have to do a check, a YODA condition, which is if event does not equal get post type, so the current post type, then we'll return. If it is an event post type, we'll carry on with the code and we'll get the post meta, pass get the ID, and we can var dump that. Refresh, and again we need to place new in front of that call. Refresh. So now we output all of our post meta. We got the event date, the event time, and the event downloads, which is in a serialized array, and we will get to that here in a second. So now let's go ahead and store all of these. Let's go ahead and store all of our values into variables. So inside of our event info class. Okay, so one mistake was I did not assign a value to this variable or this property. We'll go ahead and do that now. So it'll be underscore camp underscore. Since the prefix changed, so did this information. So we'll go ahead and add it again real quick. Keep it them too. Alright, so now that we see our camp event location, event time, and event date, all properly prefixed. So let's go ahead and start grabbing these values. We'll set true to that. Location. So we'll go ahead and start outputting this. Go ahead and echo out a section. Event info. And inside of here, we will start outputting our information. So we will print F. Do a strong tag. Instead of that strong tag, we'll do the date, colon, and %s, and this is basically a string, and the string that we want to output is date. Save, and let's give it a refresh. So now we got date, and let's add a BR tag so it will break on this new line. Copy this. We'll do time, and location. So now we got date, time, location. The last thing we need are the files. So to do that, we will create one more, and this will be downloads and event downloads. So here we will do if there are downloads, output a UL to class of event downloads. Close that UL here, and then finally we will print F, a list item with an anchor tag, href, and for the href we'll do a string, close that, another string, close the a tag, and close the li tag. So the first it will be, we'll go downloads. Okay, so got ahead of myself here. So if we do have downloads, let's go ahead and var dump downloads. And see what we get. So now we have 2 files. So if we create a simple for each loop, we could cycle through these files. So we'll do for each downloads as download. And let's see if we could. Okay, so for each download as downloads, we need to grab the download file and title. So this will be the URL. We need to grab we need to grab the URL, which is file. And next we will download title. Refresh. So we'll move this for each out. So now we have a menu and mix. And currently if we click, it opens up in the same page. So we need to go ahead and add a target. Oh, blank. There we go. So that is how I like to utilize third-party classes and libraries such as CMVto and custom post types. There is actually a lot more you could do with these. You could take a look at the documentation on GitHub. I'll put this small plugin that we created. I'll have this up on GitHub as well. This is a very simple plugin that we could release alongside our custom themes, and that way our client will have the functionality separate from the theme. So down the line they may want to change the design, but all their functionality will stay. So this is just one way to handle that. So I hope you enjoyed. My name is Juan Rangel. You could reach me on Twitter at WPZombies or on our website at vsls.com. Thank you for watching.